The air was thick with the scent of pine and damp earth, mingling with the tension that crackled like static in the crowded hall. My blonde hair, tightly braided, felt like a burden as I stood at the edge of the room, every eye drawn to the Alpha King. His presence alone made the space feel smaller, the weight of his gaze pulling at me. And then, his voice, low and fierce, whispered words that tore through the silence. Let him watch what he couldn't keep. That deep, soul-crushing, all-consuming connection that no one could ever truly understand unless they'd felt it themselves. You know that feeling when someone looks at you and sees straight through all your walls, all your defenses, right into the core of who you really are? When someone knows you better than you know yourself. That's what we had. Or at least, that's what I thought we had. Years ago, Elias broke my heart. And I'm not talking about some teenage heartbreak, some, oh, he didn't text me back kind of pain. I'm talking about the kind of heartbreak that shatters you. The kind that makes you wonder if you'll ever be whole again. The kind that changes the entire trajectory of your life. He chose duty over me. For the sake of his pack, for the sake of politics and power and all those things that seemed so important to everyone else, he pushed me away. He looked me in the eyes and told me we couldn't be together. That our bond, this thing that felt like destiny itself, didn't matter as much as his responsibilities. And I had no choice but to move on. Or, at least, that's what I told myself every single morning when I woke up. That's what I repeated like a mantra when I couldn't sleep at night, when memories of him haunted my dreams, when I'd see something that reminded me of what we had. I built a new life. I found someone new. Someone safe. Someone who didn't make me feel like I was constantly standing on the edge of a cliff. But here we were, years later, and there he was. In front of me stood the man who left me, who walked away like I was nothing, like our bond meant nothing, like everything we'd shared was just disposable. But let me tell you something, he wasn't the same man I'd once known. The Elias standing across that room, his eyes scanning the crowd until they found mine, was different. There was something darker in his gaze, something more intense, more desperate. Like he'd been wandering through a desert, and I was the first drop of water he'd seen in years. As I watched him enter the room, my breath hitched in my throat. I tried to look away. God, I tried so hard to just turn my head, to focus on literally anything else. But I couldn't. There was this energy around him. You know what I mean? It's hard to describe if you've never felt it, but it was like the air itself knew something was about to change. Like the universe was holding its breath, waiting for something momentous to happen. And suddenly, it was hard to breathe. The room was packed with people, pack members, allies, other alphas, and their mates, all dressed in their finest, all talking and laughing and completely oblivious to the storm that was brewing. But I couldn't hear any of them. I couldn't see any of them. His eyes found mine in the crowd, cutting through the sea of people like a laser beam, and I swear to you, time stopped. Everything just froze. It was like someone had pressed pause on the entire world, and there was nothing but him and me and this invisible thread that still connected us, even after all these years. Even after all the pain. Even after everything that had happened between us. My heart started racing. My palms got sweaty. Every nerve ending in my body suddenly came alive, like I'd been walking through life half asleep and someone had just shocked me awake. You'd think after all these years, after all the work I'd done on myself, after all the therapy and the healing and the moving forward, I'd be over him, right? You'd think I'd be able to stand there and feel nothing. Maybe a little nostalgia, sure. Maybe a twinge of what if. But not this. Not this overwhelming, crushing wave of emotion that threatened to knock me off my feet. But there was a pull between us. Something magnetic, something primal, something that felt bigger than both of us. It was like fate itself was tugging at me, pulling me toward him with invisible strings I couldn't cut no matter how hard I tried. But wait, there's more. Because, you see, I wasn't standing there alone that night. No. This wasn't just some simple X walks back into your life scenario. This was so much more complicated than that. I had Thorne at my side. My present. My anchor. The man who had been there for me when I was at my lowest, who had picked up the pieces Elias left behind and helped me put myself back together. The man who had loved me patiently, gently, without conditions or complications. Thorne was everything Elias wasn't: steady, reliable, present. He didn't have the raw power that Elias commanded, the kind of presence that made rooms go silent when he entered. But he had something else. Something quieter, but just as important. He had shown up. Every single day. When I was broken, when I was bitter, when I was barely hanging on by a thread, Thorne had been there. He'd held me while I cried. He'd listened to me rage about how unfair life was. He'd never once made me feel like I was too much, like my pain was an inconvenience, like I needed to hurry up and get over it already. And now here he was, standing beside me, his hand warm and solid in mine, his presence a reminder that I had built something good, something real, something that didn't come with all the chaos and heartbreak that Elias represented. But as Elias's eyes locked onto mine from across the room, as I felt that old familiar pull threatening to drag me under, Thorne's hand tightened around mine. He knew. God, he knew exactly what was happening. He could feel the shift in my energy, could probably sense the way my entire body had gone rigid with tension. He'd always been perceptive like that, always able to read me even when I tried to hide what I was feeling. And that's when it happened. That's when everything changed. That's when my carefully constructed new life started to crumble around me. Out of nowhere, Elias moved. 1 second, he was across the room, surrounded by his advisors and pack members, looking every inch the powerful alpha king everyone knew him to be. And the next second, he was cutting through the crowd like a shark through water, his eyes never leaving mine, his expression intense and determined and absolutely terrifying in its focus. He walked straight toward me. Not beside me. Not near me. Directly. To me. Like he was walking toward his destiny, like nothing and no one could stop him, like the entire room full of people didn't even exist. I could feel it. The weight of the room shifting, the conversations dying down one by one as people noticed him moving, as they realized something was happening. All eyes turned to us. All attention focused on this moment. I could hear my heart pounding in my ears, so loud I was sure everyone else could hear it too. My mouth went dry. My knees felt weak. Every instinct I had was screaming at me to run, to get out of there, to not let this happen. But I couldn't move. I was frozen in place, trapped between my past and my present, between what was and what could be. Thorne's hand tightened even more around mine. I could feel the tension radiating off him, could sense his muscles coiling like he was preparing for a fight. His jaw clenched. His breathing became shallow. He knew what was coming. Somehow, we both knew. And then Elias was right there, right in front of me. So close I could smell his scent, that familiar mix of pine and smoke and something wild that had always driven me crazy. So close I could see the flecks of gold in his dark eyes, could count the faint scars on his face that he'd earned in battles I knew nothing about. So close that the rest of the world disappeared. The room, the people, even Thorne, standing right beside me, faded into the background like a ghost. It was just me and Elias. Just like it had always been. Just like it was always supposed to be. "You look beautiful," he said, his voice low and rough, meant only for me even though I knew everyone was watching, everyone was listening. I couldn't speak. My throat had closed up completely. All I could do was stare at him, at this man who had destroyed me and rebuilt me without even being present, at this force of nature who had shaped my entire life, even in his absence. And then, just when I thought I couldn't take it anymore, just when I thought the tension might actually kill me right there on the spot, Elias kissed me. Right there. In front of everyone. In front of his pack, his allies, his enemies. In front of Thorne. His hand came up to cup my face, his touch both gentle and possessive, like he was claiming something that had always belonged to him. His lips crashed against mine with a hunger that spoke of years of denial, years of regret, years of wanting something he couldn't have. And at that moment, everything faded. The world, the people, the consequences, the complications. All of it just disappeared. It was just me and him, just this kiss, just this moment that felt like coming home and jumping off a cliff at the exact same time. My body responded before my mind could catch up. My hands moved to his chest, whether to push him away or pull him closer. I honestly couldn't tell you. My lips parted against his. My heart exploded in my chest. It felt like drowning and breathing for the first time all at once. But this wasn't just a kiss.
No, this was so much more than that.
This was a statement, a declaration, a line drawn in the sand. This was Elias telling everyone in that room, in the most public way possible, that I was his. That I had always been his. That no amount of time, no amount of distance, no amount of moving on would ever change that fundamental truth. As he pulled back, his forehead rested against mine for just a second. His eyes were still closed, his breathing ragged, like he was trying to memorize this moment, trying to burn it into his memory so he'd never forget. And then he leaned in close to my ear, his breath hot against my skin, and whispered words that would echo in my mind for days, weeks, months to come. Let him watch what he couldn't keep.
Can you imagine?
Can you even begin to imagine the weight of those words? The sheer audacity, the possessiveness, the claim he was making not just on me, but on our entire history together? I pulled back from him, my eyes wide, my mind spinning, trying to process what had just happened. Trying to understand how my entire life had just been turned upside down in the span of 30 seconds. And then I remembered.
Thorne.
Oh God.
Thorne.
I turned to look at him, and what I saw broke my heart all over again. His face had gone pale. His eyes, those kind, patient eyes that had looked at me with nothing but love and understanding for years, were filled with pain. Raw, unfiltered pain that he wasn't even trying to hide. His hand had dropped from mine. He was staring at me like he didn't even recognize me, like I was a stranger who had just destroyed his entire world. And I had. I had just let another man kiss me right in front of him. I had just stood there and let it happen. No, worse than that, I had responded. I had kissed back. The way his face twisted, the way his jaw clenched as he tried to hold back whatever he was feeling, the way his hands balled into fists at his sides, his heart was breaking in real time, and I was the one doing it. And mine was torn in two. Part of me wanted to reach out to him, to say something, to explain, to apologize, to make this right somehow. To tell him that I hadn't meant for this to happen, that I hadn't planned it, that I was just as shocked as he was. But what could I say? What words could possibly make this better? The truth was clear, written in the silence between us, in the way I was still standing too close to Elias, in the way my lips were still tingling from his kiss. Elias was back. And whether I liked it or not, whether I was ready for it or not, he was taking me with him. Thorne turned away from me, without a word. Just turned and walked away, his shoulders rigid with pain and betrayal, and every step he took felt like a knife to my chest. I wanted to call out to him. I wanted to run after him. I wanted to explain that I was confused, that I didn't know what I was doing, that I needed time to think. But I couldn't move. Because Elias's hand was on my waist, steady and sure, holding me in place, claiming me in front of everyone. The room was silent now. Every single person was watching us, watching this drama unfold, watching my life implode in the most spectacular way possible. I could hear whispers starting, could see people leaning toward each other to gossip, could feel the weight of judgment and speculation and shock pressing down on me from all sides. But Elias didn't seem to care. He stood there, tall and proud and completely unbothered by the scene he'd just created, like he'd just done the most natural thing in the world. Like he'd just reclaimed what was rightfully his and everyone else's opinions didn't matter at all. But here's the thing that most people didn't see, that most people didn't understand because they were too busy gossiping about what had just happened. What Elias said, what he did, it wasn't just for Thorne. It wasn't just to prove something to my current partner, to mark his territory like some kind of caveman staking his claim.
No, it was deeper than that.
It was his way of saying something to me. Something vulnerable. Something real. Something that cut through all the years and all the pain and all the distance between us. He didn't just kiss me to take what was his. He didn't do it to humiliate Thorne or to make a scene or to assert his dominance. He kissed me because he knew, deep down in his soul, that he had lost me once. That he had made the biggest mistake of his life when he chose duty over love, when he pushed me away, when he convinced himself that being the Alpha King meant sacrificing his own happiness. And now he would do anything to make things right. I could see it in his eyes when I finally gathered the courage to look at him, really look at him. Behind all that power and confidence and alpha energy, there was something else.
Fear.
The great Alpha King was afraid. Afraid that he was too late. Afraid that I'd moved on completely. Afraid that the bond we'd once shared had been broken beyond repair. Afraid that I would choose Thorne, choose the safe option, choose the man who had never hurt me instead of the one who had shattered me into a million pieces. His hand on my waist trembled, just slightly, just for a second, but I felt it. I felt that tiny crack in his armor, that moment of vulnerability that he would never let anyone else see. "Please," he whispered, so quiet that only I could hear it. "Please don't walk away from me again." And just like that, my heart broke all over again. Because this wasn't the arrogant Alpha King everyone else saw. This wasn't the powerful leader who commanded armies and ruled territories. This wasn't the man who had pushed me away all those years ago. This was just Elias. The man I had loved with every fiber of my being. The man who had shown me what it meant to be truly seen, truly known, truly loved. The man who had made me believe in soulmates and destiny and all those things I'd stopped believing in after he left. Was it too late? Could I forgive him for the hurt he caused? For walking away when I needed him most? For choosing his pack over our bond? For letting years go by while I rebuilt myself from the ground up? Or was it just too much to ask? The pain of losing him all over again, so many years later, after I'd finally learned to live without him, was almost unbearable to even consider. Because here's what nobody tells you about heartbreak. The second time around is always worse. The first time, you're in shock. You're numb. You can't quite believe it's happening. But the second time, you know exactly what's coming. You know exactly how much it's going to hurt. And you have to choose to walk into that pain with your eyes wide open. I could see it in his eyes now, really see it. Elias was a different man than the one who had left me, but he was still the same in all the ways that mattered. Powerful, yes. Commanding, absolutely. The kind of presence that made rooms go silent and made other alphas bow their heads in respect. But broken too. So broken. I could see the cracks now, the ones he hid from everyone else. The weight of all the decisions he'd made, all the sacrifices, all the nights he'd spent alone wondering if he'd made the right choice. He'd chosen duty over love, and it had destroyed him just as much as it had destroyed me. And as much as I wanted to run to him, to hold him and never let go, to say yes to everything he was offering without thinking about the consequences, Thorne was still here. Well, not physically here anymore. He'd walked away, disappeared into the crowd, gone somewhere to lick his wounds in private. But his presence lingered. His love lingered. The man who had patiently waited for me to heal. The man who had never once pressured me, never once made me feel like I owed him anything, never once complained about being my second choice because he was just grateful to have a place in my life at all. The man who had loved me even when I didn't know how to love myself. How do you choose between someone who broke you and someone who healed you? How do you choose between destiny and safety? How do you choose between the love that set your soul on fire and the love that kept you warm on cold nights? How do you walk away from someone who you thought was your forever, your soulmate, your other half, only to have your past come crashing back, demanding to be alive again, demanding to be given another chance? Elias's hand was still on my waist. His eyes were still locked on mine. The entire room was still watching us, waiting to see what I would do, how this story would end. And I realized something in that moment. This wasn't just about choosing between two men. This was about choosing who I wanted to be. Did I want to be the woman who played it safe?
Who chose the easy path?
Who settled for good enough because she was too afraid to reach for great? Or did I want to be the woman who took risks? Who believed in second chances? Who was brave enough to forgive, to try again, to give her heart to someone even though he'd broken it before? Did I want to be practical or passionate? Safe or sorry? Settled or searching? But there was something else too, something I was only just beginning to understand as I stood there in Elias's arms, surrounded by hundreds of people but feeling completely alone. This wasn't just about me and my choice. This was about what Elias had said when he kissed me. Let him watch what he couldn't keep. At first, I'd thought it was cruel, arrogant, a power play meant to humiliate Thorne and assert his dominance over me. But now I understood. It wasn't about Thorne at all. It was about Elias himself. He was the one who couldn't keep me. He was the one who had let me go, who had watched me walk away, who had stood there and done nothing while I built a life without him. He was speaking to himself as much as to anyone else, reminding himself of his own failure, his own loss, his own regret. Every day for years, he had to watch from a distance, through the grapevine, through reports and rumors and the occasional glimpse at pack gatherings, as I moved on, as I healed, as I found someone else, as I became the woman he'd always known I could be, but without him by my side. Can you imagine what that must have felt like for him? To know that you'd had something perfect, something rare, something that most people spend their whole lives searching for, and you'd thrown it away because you thought you had to? To watch the person you loved more than anything find happiness with someone else, knowing it was entirely your fault? To lie awake at night replaying every moment, every decision, every word you said that pushed them further away? People always talk about the pain of being left, but nobody talks about the pain of being the one who left and realizing too late that you made the worst mistake of your life. Elias had lived with that pain every single day since he let me go. And now, finally, he was done watching. He was done being the one on the outside looking in. He was done letting fear and duty and responsibility keep him from the one thing that truly mattered. He was claiming me back, yes, but he was also claiming himself back. The version of himself that existed when we were together. The version that knew how to love without reservation, without calculation, without always thinking 3 steps ahead. My hands were shaking now. My whole body was shaking, actually. The adrenaline, the emotion, the sheer weight of this moment, it was all catching up to me at once. I could feel tears burning behind my eyes, threatening to spill over. I could feel my chest getting tight, my breathing getting shallow. This was too much. Too much history. Too much pain. Too much hope and fear and confusion all tangled together until I couldn't tell them apart anymore. I can't do this right now, I whispered, my voice barely audible even to myself. Elias, I can't. I need time. I need space. I need to think. His jaw clenched. His eyes flashed with something, panic maybe? Desperation? The fear that if he let me go now, even for a moment, I'd slip through his fingers again? How much time? He asked, his voice rough with emotion. How much space? Because I've given you years, and it hasn't changed anything. This bond between us, it's still here. You feel it just as much as I do. He wasn't wrong. God, he wasn't wrong. I could feel it thrumming between us, that invisible thread that connected our souls, stronger now than it had been in years. Like it had just been dormant, waiting for us to be in the same room again, waiting for this moment. The mate bond. That's what it was, what it had always been, what everyone had whispered about when we were together before. True mates. Destined by the moon goddess herself. The kind of bond that only came along once in a lifetime if you were lucky. And I had walked away from it. Or rather, he had pushed me away, and I had let myself be pushed. You don't get to do this, I said, my voice stronger now, anger starting to burn through the confusion. You don't get to push me away. To tell me that duty comes first, that the pack is more important, that we can't be together, and then show up years later and expect me to just fall back into your arms like nothing happened. I know, he said simply. You broke me, Elias. You shattered me into so many pieces that I didn't think I'd ever be whole again. I know. I spent years rebuilding myself. Years learning how to be okay without you. Years convincing myself that I didn't need you, that I was better off, that you did me a favor by letting me go. I know. And now you're here and you're looking at me like I'm the air you breathe, like you'll die without me, and I don't know if I can trust that. I don't know if I can trust you. He stepped closer, his hand coming up to cup my face. I should have pulled away. I should have maintained my distance, my boundaries, my self-respect. But I didn't. I let him touch me. I let him look at me with those eyes that saw straight through all my defenses. Then don't trust me, he said softly. Don't trust my words, because I know I've said things before that I couldn't back up. But trust this. He took my hand and placed it over his heart. I could feel it pounding beneath my palm, racing just as fast as mine was. Trust what you feel right now. Trust this bond that's been pulling at you since the moment I walked into this room. Trust the fact that you couldn't look away, couldn't pretend you didn't feel it, couldn't deny that there's still something here between us. And that's when I realized something. He was right. Not about everything. He was still the man who had hurt me, who had prioritized everything else over our relationship, who had made me feel like I wasn't enough. But he was right about the bond. I had felt it the moment he walked in. That magnetic pull. That sense of coming home. That feeling of rightness that I'd never quite found with anyone else, not even Thorne. Thorne was good to me. Thorne loved me. Thorne would have given me a safe, stable, happy life. But it wouldn't have been this. It wouldn't have been this fire, this intensity, this sense that every moment mattered because we were living our destiny. And suddenly I understood something else too. This wasn't really a choice between Elias and Thorne. This was a choice between safety and truth, between settling and soaring, between the life I thought I should want and the life my soul was screaming for. I'd spent years trying to be practical, trying to make the smart choice, trying to protect myself from ever being hurt like that again. But what if protecting myself meant protecting myself from the very thing I was meant to experience? What if playing it safe meant missing out on the one great love of my life? What if the reason nothing else had ever felt quite right was because I was always meant to end up back here, in this moment, with this man? The moon goddess doesn't make mistakes. That's what the old wolves always said. That's what we're taught from the time we're children. True, mates are destiny. And you can run from destiny. You can fight it. You can try to build a different life, follow a different path. But eventually, it catches up to you. Eventually, you have to choose. Embrace what you're meant for, or spend the rest of your life wondering what if. What changed? I asked him, my voice barely above a whisper. Why now? After all these years, why come back now? Elias was quiet for a long moment. His thumb traced circles on my cheek, and I could see him struggling with something, trying to find the right words. I thought I was doing the right thing, he finally said. When I let you go, I convinced myself it was necessary, that an alpha king couldn't afford to be distracted by a mate bond, that I needed to focus on the pack, on building alliances, on being the leader they needed me to be. He paused, his jaw clenching with emotion. But the truth is, I was scared, terrified, actually, of how much I felt for you, of how completely you consumed me, of how I would choose you over anything, the pack, the throne, my own life, without hesitation. That kind of love, that kind of vulnerability. I thought it made me weak. My breath caught in my throat. So you pushed me away to protect yourself, I said, understanding dawning. I pushed you away because I was a coward, he corrected. I told myself it was for duty, for honor, for all these noble reasons. But really, I was just afraid of how much power you had over me. How completely I would have surrendered everything for you. Tears were sliding down my cheeks now, and I didn't bother to wipe them away. And what's different now? I asked. What changed? His eyes met mine, and I saw in them a depth of pain and regret that took my breath away. I spent every day of the last few years watching you live without me, watching you smile at someone else, watching you build a life that I should have been part of. And I realized something. What? That being strong isn't about denying what you feel. It's not about pushing away the people you love in the name of duty. Real strength is accepting your vulnerability, admitting what you need, fighting for what matters, even when it's terrifying. He pulled me closer, his forehead resting against mine. I was so busy trying to be the perfect alpha king that I forgot to be a man. Your man. And I lost you because of it. I'm not making that mistake again. The room around us had started to blur. The people, the noise, the judgment, All of it faded into background static. There was just us. Just this moment. Just this choice that would determine the entire rest of my life. I thought about Thorne, somewhere in this building, dealing with the pain I'd caused him. Good, kind Thorne who deserved someone who could love him wholeheartedly, without reservation, without always wondering about what might have been. And I thought about Elias, standing in front of me, finally brave enough to fight for us, finally strong enough to admit his mistakes. I thought about the years of pain, the nights I'd cried myself to sleep, the slow process of putting myself back together. But I also thought about the years before that. The way he used to look at me like I was his entire world. The way his laugh could light up the darkest days. The way we fit together like two pieces of a puzzle that were specifically designed for each other. The mate bond was thrumming between us now, so strong I could almost see it, a golden thread connecting us, pulling us together. And I had to decide, right here, right now, in front of all these people. Did I choose safety or passion? The known or the unknown? The man who had never hurt me, or the man who had hurt me more than anyone else ever could? My heart was pounding. My mind was racing. Every instinct I had was screaming different things: run, stay, choose, wait, think, feel. Elias was looking at me with such hope and fear and love that it physically hurt to meet his eyes. I need you to understand something, I said, my voice trembling but clear. If I do this, if I choose you, if I give us another chance, I need to know that you won't leave again. That duty and pack politics and all those things that seemed so important before won't matter more than us. They won't, he said without hesitation. I swear to you on everything I am, everything I have, you come first. Always. I won't make the same mistake twice. And if your pack doesn't accept me? If there's pressure to choose someone more politically advantageous? Then they can find a new Alpha King, he interrupted. Because I've learned the hard way. That all the power and territory and respect in the world means nothing if I don't have you by my side. My heart was breaking and healing and breaking again all at once. This was real. This was actually happening. After all these years, all this pain, all this growth and change and learning to live without him, here we were, being given a second chance that most people never get. The question was I brave enough to take it? So what do you think I did? Did I stay with Thorne, the man who had loved me patiently and healed my broken heart, who represented safety and stability and a future without drama or complications? Or did I walk back into the arms of the Alpha King, the one who had never truly let me go, who represented passion and destiny and a love so intense it terrified me? Did I choose with my head or my heart? Did I let go of the past or embrace it? Did I play it safe or take the biggest risk of my life? Let's just say, everything changed that night. My entire world shifted on its axis, and nothing was ever the same again. But the real question is, the question that's been keeping me up at night, that's been replaying in my mind on an endless loop, do you think I made the right choice? Because here's the thing they don't tell you about these kinds of moments, about these life-altering decisions that happen in the space of a heartbeat. You never really know if you made the right choice until it's too late to change it. You can only trust your instincts, follow your heart, and hope that when the dust settles and the emotion fades, you'll still be able to look at yourself in the mirror and recognize the person staring back. And me? I looked into Elias's eyes, felt the mate bond singing between us, remembered every moment we'd shared and every moment we'd lost. And I made my choice. But I'm not going to tell you what it was. Not yet. Because some stories are too big, too complex, too earth-shattering to be summed up in a single moment, in a simple yes or no, in a neat little ending tied up with a bow. Some stories need time to unfold. Some choices have consequences that ripple out for days, weeks, months. Some moments are just the beginning of something much bigger, much more complicated, much more beautiful and terrifying than you could ever imagine when you're standing in the middle of them.
What I can tell you is this.
That night changed everything. The choice I made, whatever it was, set in motion a series of events that would test me in ways I never expected. That would challenge everything I thought I knew about love, about loyalty, about what it means to be true to yourself while also honoring the people who matter to you. That would force me to grow in ways I didn't know I was capable of growing. That would break my heart and heal it and break it again until I wasn't sure there were any pieces left to shatter. But isn't that what real love is supposed to do? Isn't it supposed to transform you, challenge you, make you question everything you thought you knew about yourself and the world? I used to think love was supposed to be easy. That when you found the right person, everything would just fall into place. That happily ever after meant smooth sailing from that point forward. But now I know better. Real love, the kind that changes you, that marks your soul, that you carry with you for the rest of your life, is never easy. It's messy and complicated and terrifying. It demands everything from you and gives no guarantees in return. It asks you to be brave when you want to be safe, to be vulnerable when you want to be protected, to keep choosing it over and over again, even when it hurts. But it's also the most beautiful, most powerful, most transformative thing you'll ever experience. And standing there that night, with Elias's hand on my face and Thorne's pain still echoing in my heart and hundreds of eyes watching to see what I would do, I realized that this was my moment. This was when I stopped being a passive participant in my own life and started actively choosing my destiny. Whatever happened next, whether it was beautiful or heartbreaking, whether it led to happiness or more pain, whether I ended up with Elias or Thorne or neither of them, at least it would be my choice. At least I would know that I'd been brave enough to follow my heart instead of my fears. At least I would be able to look back on this moment and know that I'd lived, really lived, instead of just existing in the safe, comfortable space I'd created to protect myself. So yes, everything changed that night. But maybe that was exactly what needed to happen. Maybe I needed to be shaken out of my comfortable life, forced to confront the past I'd been running from, pushed to make a choice that would define the rest of my future. Maybe that's what the moon goddess had planned all along. Or maybe I'm just trying to make sense of chaos, to find meaning in a moment that was really just about two people and the love that wouldn't let them go, no matter how hard they tried to walk away from it. Either way, I made my choice. And now I have to live with it. Just like you have to live with not knowing what it was. At least for now. But trust me when I tell you, this story is far from over. In fact, it's only just beginning. Please tell me your name, the city you're watching from, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. It matters to the growth of this community.